Good morning everyone, how you doing? It's Paul here from Unusual Things. Now today I am in Southampton at St Mary's Extra Church and we're going to talk about the gruesome murder of Richard Parker. This is one for the crime files. This is the story of Richard Parker, a 17-year-old seaman gruesomely murdered at sea. The Mignonette was a small boat that should never have been making that sort of journey on the ocean. It was to set sail to Sydney in Australia on the 19th of May 1884. The boat was docked in England but had been purchased by an Australian. The only way to get it to its new home was to sail it there. The Mignonette was not meant for long voyages, and the new owner, John Henry Want, had a hard time finding a crew. He was finally able to hire 4 men to crew the boat. They consisted of Tom Dudley, the captain, Edwin Stephens, Edmund Brooks and Richard Parker, the cabin boy. Parker was a 17-year-old orphaned and inexperienced seaman. John went ahead to Sydney by ship and the Mignonette set off with Dudley as captain. On July the 5th, the yacht was damaged by a heavy wave. Tom knew the ship was going to sink and he ordered the crew to man the lifeboat. It just took 5 minutes for the Mignonette to sink. In their haste to save themselves, they loaded the lifeboat with no fresh water and 2 tins of turnips. They were now on a flimsy lifeboat in shark-infested waters somewhere between the island of Tristan da Cunha and St Helena. After 4 days, the men caught a sea turtle and ate it. But without fresh water, the men resorted to drinking their own urine. Eventually, Richard, the youngest and the least experienced seaman, made the mistake of trying to drink seawater, and he became extremely ill. Now the men were starving to death. Eventually, Tom and Edwin decided that one of the men needed to be killed to save the other 3. The idea of cannibalism was not completely foreign to sailors. There was even a protocol to it, the custom of the sea. It said that men should draw lots to decide who would be sacrificed. Tom and Edwin, however, decided that since Richard was probably going to die anyway, he was the one who should be eaten. They also decided he should be killed so that the men could drink his blood. That night, Dudley again raised the matter with Stephens, pointing out that Parker was probably dying and that he and Stephens had wives and families. They agreed to the matter until the morning. The following day, with no prospect of rescue in sight, Dudley and Stephens silently signalled to each other that Parker would be killed. Killing Parker before his natural death would mean blood to drink. Brooks, who had not been party to the earlier discussion, claimed to have signalled neither assent nor protest. Dudley was insisted that Brooks had assented. Dudley said a prayer and, with Stephens standing by holding the youth's legs if he struggled, pushed his penknife into Parker's jugular vein, killing him. It was reported that after eating his intestines and tearing him apart limb by limb, they threw the rest of his body into the water. On July the 29th, the men caught sight of the Montezuma, a German ship who picked them up and took them back to England. They arrived in early September. The men freely told their story to the police, believing that the murder done out of necessity was not punishable, but the police, however, disagreed. Tom and Edwin were brought to the trial, with Edmund agreeing to testify for the prosecution. The trial began on November the 3rd. Tom and Edwin both pled not guilty and they had public sentiment on their side. The prosecution intended to set the precedent that killing out of necessity was still murder. Tom and Edwin were found guilty and sentenced to death. A review of the case found that manslaughter had not been offered to the jury as an option, and under scrutiny from the public, the men were sentenced to 6 months in prison. Wow. The men were released on May the 20th, 1885. Edmund was never charged with any crime whatsoever. And now for the really strange part of this story. More than 40 years earlier, the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket by Edgar Allan Poe was published. The book was about a ship on which only 4 men had survived both mutiny and a storm that caused heavy damage. The men are starving, and as they draw straws to decide which of them should be sacrificed to save the others, a young cabin boy draws the shortest straw, and he is killed for food. His name Richard Parker. Told you it was a gruesome one today on the Crime Files, but a true story. And how unusual is that, that the book written by Edgar Allan Poe about the four seamen at sea, and his name was Richard Parker. Wow. Now I'm going to look to see, because as I've been giving you guys the information, you know, I get so engrossed in it sometimes. I don't always look out for the monument stone. Now I just need to let you know, of course, Richard Parker was, his body was thrown at sea, so his body's obviously not here, but they do have a memorial stone to him here. I think I found it. This looks like it could be it. Richard Parker, and it says Sarah there. Here we go. Sacred to the memory of Richard Parker, aged 17, who died at sea July the 25th, 1884, after 19 days, dreadful suffering in an open boat in the tropics, been wrecked in the yacht Mignonette. Though he stay me, yet will I trust him. Job 13 verses 15. Lord, lay not into his sin, then charge. And of Sarah Parker, died 6th January 1898, 68. So there we have it, a monument stone to Richard Parker, a 17-year-old inexperienced seaman who just wanted to go to sea and start off some form of life at sea. Sadly taken because the Mignonette, that wasn't made for that journey, and it sunk, and of 3 crew members decided that because he was sick, because he drank the seawater. Yet the German ship came along a little bit later and rescued them all after they survived the rainwater for a little while. Who has the right to decide which one of them died? What, because he's the youngest, because he's the most inexperienced? No. If someone naturally dies and then you have to eat them for survival, then that, you know, that's fair game. But just because the lad was ill, inexperienced, and the rest had families, they thought they could just get away with it. Bless you, Richard. May you be resting in peace. Sad story on the Crime Files today. But as usual, beautiful little churchyard. Again, nice and peaceful. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the video. Leave me a comment down below. I know that a lot of you do like the Crime Files. You like it when I come out and find old stories, and I know they're a bit gruesome sometimes, but you know, these people deserve to have their story told, don't they? So yeah, make sure you leave me a comment, and if you like the video, give me a thumbs up as well. And I will see you all on the next one. Take it easy.